Verse 27 says, just then his disciples returned and were surprised to find him talking with a woman. But no one asked, what do you want? Or why are you talking with her? So it was really interesting of how the scriptures talked about how just then his disciples returned. It was to see how the Lord had orchestrated this whole conversation that he had with the Samaritan woman as he was revealing himself to her, and at the same time witnessing to her, and she was receiving her deliverance, and she received her deliverance right there at the moment. And then that's when the disciples had showed up, and we're going to come right back to that because that's really important for us to learn, and also what we're going to focus on today. So they just got back there just when the Samaritan woman had got her deliverance. Now that was the breakthrough, and that was the awesome part. So when the disciples showed up, the atmosphere almost like kind of shifted just a little bit. The disciples were looking at Jesus a little funny, just looking at him like, okay, he's talking to this woman, the Samaritan woman. So they started to look at him funny. So they was shocked for one. They were shocked for one because Jesus was talking to a woman, a Samaritan woman at that. And they were amazed and kind of like bewildered, as well, because they were seeing something that was out of the ordinary. Out of the ordinary, because Jesus was talking to one with a woman. That starts off the first thing, because during that time, rabbis or priests, leaders of that day, they were not alone, or they never talked to a woman publicly, one-on-one, alone. Just him or the leader with a woman. It was something that was unheard of. You'll never see that done in public. And the people, or better yet, for the disciples, when they watched that, they was fearful and thinking about what people may think about, or what people may say. All these things was going through their head, into their mind, because the people probably don't want to admit this. A lot of people probably don't want to come out and say this, but perception is important. When we say, we don't care about what someone say or think, for some people, some people don't care. But for the most part, it's one of those situations that you want people to know something, or you don't want to give that a bad perception about anything, especially if the majority look at things in a negative way. So the word even said in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 22, that we should shun, or better yet, abstain from all appearances that are evil. So the word says that because perception is key. Perception is important, and this is what the disciples was looking at. Recognized that Jesus was talking to a woman alone in public. The problem that we face nowadays, that we have leaders, both men and women, not only talking to the opposite sex in public, but talking to them in private. I mean, it's this situation that when Jesus talking to the Samaritan woman, this was borderline private, because no one else was around. So it was borderline private, and so in a sense, that's what they were looking at. And I don't care, no leader, especially in, as leaders in the church, I don't care, male or female, you should not have meetings, especially privately, with the opposite sex. It's something now. The perception of it looks bad. Now, can the conversation be innocent, just like Jesus and the Samaritan woman? Absolutely. Can the intentions be right with them meeting privately, one-on-one, man and woman? No matter if it's a female leader, male leader, meeting with opposite sex, can it be, something wholesome? Yes, it could be. But however, the perception of it is wrong. Because what it sets up, so private meetings is completely unacceptable, because it can create unhealthy thoughts. It can. You go into the right intentions and you keep meeting this person, it can create unhealthy things, and it could also lead to extracurricular activities. So it can lead into that. Not saying that it's the purpose, although there's some situations where that is the drive to try to get there. But this is the reason why it's not important, because as leaders, we must guard ourselves, from those thoughts, especially when we're alone with the opposite sex. Because in essence, folks, here, we are human. We are sexual beings, period. We are. So yes, the intention is innocent, but over time, you never know how the enemy can manipulate certain things or take advantage of certain situations. Whether the person going in not thinking about nothing negative or leading to it, but the enemy can have his ways, especially in a vulnerable situation. We don't know what that male, female leader's going on at home. We don't know what they're going on, especially if they marry. You definitely better not meet privately with the opposite sex, because the enemy knows, he sees what's going on, and he can manipulate certain situations. He's into stuff like that. And this is why it's important not to meet alone with the opposite sex, because yes, it can lead into those things despite however the situation may come out to be. But the big picture, it just creates, a situation where the perception looks bad. And this was what the disciples was looking at when Jesus talking to them, to the Samaritan woman. So wisdom and self-control is both needed in this situation. In another situation, again, not